Disc brakes, I think, have, has a ways to go in the fact that it has to change, I think, for road bikes. It has to be a different brake than a mountain bike. That being said, we are in the process of building a disc brake fork and disc brake Z0, and are continuing to design, doing design work on a stock frame as well for disc brakes. We see a great deal of interest in it. Remains to be seen though. I think it does have a ways to go. I think it will develop. I think it will get better. I think that there is, in terms of building wheels, it gives you a great deal more latitude from what you can build by changing the braking system. But that's essentially it.
As an engineer, it's a great challenge, I think. Performance is a lot different, but also the load cases and how you're going to put it in the bike, you have to build the whole thing completely differently. So we were talking about having to adapt ourselves to a lot of BB standards, now with the tapered forks, different headsets and stuff. It's just another curveball that the industry throws at us, and it's part of the game, it's part of the fun. So if something happens UCI-wise, and that the interest grows more and more, of course we'll jump in, and it's a lot of interest. For me, in a professional perspective and an engineering perspective, it's cool.
I agree that in the road category, the UCI will drive that. In the endurance category, the utility category, and cross category, any other drop bar category, sensing a lot of interest in disc brakes. There's a lot of room for improvement in the systems right now, but that stuff will be solved. And there are some liabilities, I think, with disc brake for, let's say, the endurance bike. But there's some really interesting opportunities that opens up too. When the disc brake system works well, you can change wheels easily. We're doing bikes now that do 650D and 700C for the same bike. Right here, Justin's working on that. And that creates some new opportunities in the industry that have never really existed before for drop bar bikes. And I think that's going to create some interesting categories in the next 5 years or so. So it's an exciting time. Even though there's a lot of issues with disc brakes, those things will be solved eventually, but not this season.
If anyone hasn't seen a disc brake, we have on a road bike, we have one here, a 7.
Yeah, this is sort of a two-part question, but it seems like in the bike industry there are two separate types of sort of sources of innovations. There are those like, that are clearly customer-driven or cyclist-driven, like the one we were just talking about, like, disc brakes on road bikes. And then there are those that are technology or industry-driven, like electronic shifting, tubeless tires, and BB30. I can't imagine there were a lot of cyclists screaming, I need a different kind of bottom bracket so I can ride differently. It just doesn't come from there. So the first part of the question is, what do you see as the role of the consumer in the future of innovation in the cycling industry? And the second part is, and what do you see coming down the line that's actually going to change the riding experience as new innovations?
Bob?
Buy more bikes.
We're all here because we already do that.
I don't know how to answer that question. We respond to the needs of the consumer. We're always listening to the consumer. For us, that helped us design our stock bikes by building our custom bikes. We understood what the consumers that were buying our bikes, the type of geometry that they were looking for. So we're always looking towards the consumer to help guide us. When I started building my bikes, I had a mindset that I wanted to build a bike that was going to perform a certain way. So the tube size, fiber type, fiber direction, all that influenced how I designed my bike, and then that worked well and was accepted well in the industry. So I was able to keep on going with that, but it was basically from consumer feedback that really drove what I was doing. Yeah, it's-
Nick, thoughts?
I think that it's really the dialogue between the makers and the consumers, because you see, even that, let's say Shimano BD86 bottom bracket, wider press fit, yeah, it doesn't come from a consumer that said, I need that. The consumer said to the manufacturer, I want something larger, stiffer, that can be as light, and blah, blah, blah. So the manufacturers came in with solutions to those problems. So some of the solutions come from manufacturers because, let's say they took some part of the aerospace industry and took materials from there to solve problems that were found out on the road by consumers. So yeah, part of it comes from the consumer, part of it comes from the manufacturer, but because of that dialogue between all parties, that's how I see it.
For the industry improvements, as Seven as a builder, we adapt to that. We don't have any real influence on what Shimano will do, or SRAM or Campy or any of the other component suppliers. We absolutely listen to the customer. That's our job for sure. And then in between there, or the third piece of that to me is part of our job is to figure out what people don't know that they want yet. It's one of the things that I find really interesting about the endurance category, the gravel road category, the utility category, is it's very quickly becoming very interesting. And it'll be, I can't wait to see where it goes in the next 5 years. I think some really neat stuff will come out of that will affect component manufacturers. But right now, Seven and Small Builder have an opportunity to influence where those categories go. So it's partly our job to try to stay ahead of what people are looking for, whether it's multiple size wheels or the way the disc systems work, the way that front rack might be integrated on a carbon fork. There's no great offering for that as an example. So Seven can play a role in that. So that's an exciting time, and Seven likes to be in that place of collaborating with the rider to do what they are asking for, but figuring out how can we go beyond that and try to stay ahead of that, which is really hard to do. And just kind of dealing with what the component manufacturers are putting out there and how can we apply those in unusual ways that maybe they weren't intended for, but could help some of these categories be more useful for riders.
I don't think anybody has said anything that I would disagree with. I guess maybe just to add, it's interesting. Sometimes this is a funny business in that there are. You probably couldn't find anybody in this industry who would say that they are just in this industry to make money. But on the other hand, there are a lot of products that are being offered as solutions to problems that didn't exist. And because people are trying to make something to sell, and so and that's a lot of that stuff is being marketed, and we're as consumers we want the next thing that is going to make us enjoy our product more, just enjoy owning it more, or enjoy using it more, and so I've actually spent a fair bit of more time lately than I had for a couple of years talking to some of the major component manufacturers, just talking to them about the products that they're currently making or that they're working on or they're planning. And it's interesting, a lot of the feedback that I'm getting is they don't really know why they're doing what they're doing, but the market is asking for it. And I said, well, who's the market? Well, I'm not sure. It's what people are talking about. And so our job is to decide what we're going to be better at, what we want to be best at doing, and to keep searching for ways to deliver that. And part of that comes from listening, not necessarily what people are asking us to do, but listening to what they're telling us about how they ride, or how their bikes are riding, or where they're riding. And I mean the energy that keeps us going is wanting to figure out the answers to what is going to make what we're doing now obsolete by doing something better. But it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's a fun puzzle.
George had a question.
Yeah,
That
That damn
internet, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Now, you're all builders here, and everybody's lucky to work with a good group of people. I'm interested in hearing, how do you cultivate your culture, and how do you find good people to join the team, and how do you keep motivating them?
You hire Nick. I'm working for you, Nick, here.
I got business cards.
Ben?
Well, Paul and I have this thing, I'm not a great motivator, or not great, I mean, I at all. Bill, who's a longtime friend of mine, and our new CEO, standing back corner there, on the other hand, is a fabulous motivator and leader. We work really well together. I think over the years, we find great people because the people that come to work for us believe in the product. Ultimately, you know, some of them, we all believe in the product and the mission of making sure every bike we build is the very best bicycle we've ever built, and for that person that we're building it for, and that's the glue, you know. And there are people who want to be a part of that. It's exciting to be a part of that. And so the product has, until Bill arrived, to a great degree, the product has been the motivator in our business, not myself. And I'm sure if I've answered the question or not.
I'm just interested in different
Yeah.
perspectives. How do you maintain
Yeah.
a great company? Your own great companies, your gear, even you, Paul, you know, having your reputation. How do you sustain that? It's longevity. How do you keep it going? That's my question.
It's better to be lucky than to be good.
That's it.
Best to be both.
Yeah, we hire interns, we get, and some interns stay with us, some move on. Most of my employees have been with me for at least 6 years now, and more. I'm lucky, I have a great group of people. I think they like working, you know, my wife Isabel basically runs the business, and she's a wonderful person to work with, and I think people enjoy working for her. And I think people enjoy my thoughts on designs and things. And so I think we have this nice combination, nice group of people. Like, I have kids that have come from a local vocational school. 4 of my painters came from the same vocational school. One of my finishers came from, you know, Sanders, and came from that vocational school. And they've all stuck, you know, they've come on as 18-year-olds and still with me. You know, some of them have young families now. You know, boy, I don't know. I like the beginning of my business, I felt like I was being, you know, some of my employees were like, I was tearing my hair out with them, and I figure it was payback for what I did to the employees. Some of the people I worked for, you know, I probably made a lot of my employers tear their hair out too. So I had to go through that, but it's evolved into this really great group of people that, you know, come from so many different walks of life. One of my employees didn't even speak English when he came to work for me. He's now an American citizen and a fabulous worker, incredibly dedicated person. Just, you know, I couldn't say enough about my guys. I guess I'm lucky. You know, we're lucky.
Yeah, sure. My insight, I'm seeing this more from the inside probably, because I'm part of the team that's actually building it. My office is just next by the production floor. I think we have as a team, well, the president of the company, Tony, I don't know if some of you have met it. He's a guy with a lot of ambition and lots of energy, and he can translate this into the product. But as for us on the production floor, we actually try to live by those products, and it's a way of life more than just a job that you punch in and punch out. We go on group rides on weekends. We have a beer every now and then when the Montreal Canadiens are playing. We put up a racing team this summer. The 8 riders, 6 of them are actually working effectively. So at lunchtime, at the breaks, or we discuss our strategy for the next race and stuff like that. And we're all riding photons, and you know, it's really more about just a job but it's a way of life, and that's how we're motivated, because we're actually building the frame for the guy we'll be racing with next week. So we all want everybody to feel the same as we do doing our jobs and having fun doing it.
For Seven, we're really lucky that we're in the Boston area, which is a huge college town. I can't remember how many colleges, but it's basically all students. That a lot of major universities, MIT, Harvard, like the full scope of thinking and youth and energy and drive. So we've got a really great pool of people to search from when we're looking to hire. Within the company, I think there's 12 people at Seven that I've worked with for more years than Seven has existed. So there's definitely a strong culture of teamwork within Seven. Some people say that the tenures are too long at Seven. I think the average is like 8.5 years, so more than half of the length of the company. And I think that the reason people tend to stay, one, the bike industry is a lot of fun to work in, but maybe even more important, I think, for Seven is that the industry changes really fast. So every year, I feel like it's new. Like there's so much change going on, more than ever. But even 15 years ago, things would change pretty quickly. So it's always new. It's always interesting. It's always a challenge. There's new things to figure out. So it's always really fresh, and I think that keeps people excited. It doesn't get old. So those are some of the things I think that have helped us a lot.
You answer the question for yourself also, Paul, for signature, and what you've done with your website. You're really out there. And you keep.
It's interesting, I'm listening to these gentlemen, and I'm thinking, I don't know why anyone would want to work for me. In that, I'd like to ask, I have Blake who runs my Manhattan store, and Lori who runs this store. Why do you work for Signature Cycles? What motivates you to come to work every day?
It's a dangerous
I
one.
stumbled by accident. You can sign some papers. Next thing I know, I'm working. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting because I guess from the outside looking in, you can always ask yourself how you got into the industry and how you got into the job you do, and everybody's like, "Hey, one thing leads to another. You end up in the world you work in." And working for you specifically, Paul's very realistic as far as his expectations of us and his expectations of what Signature is as a business. And I think that I've worked for other good motivators, I've worked for entrepreneurs, I've worked for other shop owners, and people outside of this industry, even in the marketing world. And it's rare that you find somebody that runs a business that has a healthy idea of what that business can mean both to him financially and both to his employees financially, but also has a realistic expectation of what he's going to get back, and so this job allows me to have enough time to spend with my family, enough time to spend with my significant other, enough time to play on the weekends, and also just to make people happy. And it's definitely over the last 3 years, the people that I've met, the people that I've worked with is incredible. It's you just end up feeling lucky, and that's really what keeps you coming back day in and day out. Yeah, Paul's been thus far a great guy to work for, so that's my answer.
We enjoy delivering the best, and you have to find the type of people that really want to work hard to deliver that moment to somebody. Jim had a great moment with a client, Andrew, and you explained it perfectly. Jim, behind the camera. Jim's been with us for how long? Not a long time.
Since November. So an older man came in, wanted to buy a Serato Otro. We read about it.
Early
Older,
70s.
yeah, late 60s.
Oh, easy with the old, late 60s. Easy with that.
Older, I said. Wanted to buy a Serato Otro for him and his wife. Got an Otro Di2, 11-speed, zip wheels, got the works. I took him out. He had a boot on his leg because he broke his foot slipping on the ice. So he had a boot on his leg, but he still wanted to ride his bike home, and it was only like 5 blocks away. So I brought him out. I told him how to shift the bike, and he got on the bike with a boot on his leg, and he's